Ruby Carter was heading home after a long Monday when the elevator in her office building stopped between floors. The man already inside was impossibly attractive, perfectly calm, and within 40 minutes would tell her he ran a Mafia family. She thought getting stuck was bad luck. Turns out it was the beginning of everything. Tell me where you're watching from, because today you'll discover that sometimes the worst timing is actually perfect timing in disguise. The elevator in the commercial building on Fifth Avenue was one of those sleek, modern ones with mirrors and soft lighting that made everyone look slightly better than they actually did at 6:45 on a Monday evening. Ruby Carter stood in the hallway on the 10th floor, waiting for the doors to open, mentally cataloging everything that had gone wrong with her day. Client changed the gala theme. Again. For the third time this week. The venue was threatening to charge extra for the modifications. Her boss wanted a status update she didn't have time to write, and her feet were killing her in heels she'd worn to look professional for a meeting that got canceled anyway. The elevator dinged. Doors slid open. There was already someone inside. Ruby stepped in and immediately wished she'd taken the stairs, or waited for the next one, or possibly moved to a different city where she wouldn't have to share small spaces with men who looked like they'd stepped out of an Italian fashion magazine. He was focused on his phone, one shoulder leaning against the elevator wall. Late 30s, dark hair styled perfectly despite the late hour, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. The kind of attractive that made you forget how to form complete sentences. He looked up as she entered. Dark eyes. Brief eye contact that lasted half a second too long to be polite, and not quite long enough to be awkward. Small professional smile from both of them. Of course. Monday evening and the elevator decides to be a romantic comedy setup. Going down? He asked. His voice was deep with just a hint of an accent. Italian. Definitely Italian. Ground floor, thanks. He'd already pressed it. The elevator began its descent, smooth and silent except for the faint hum of machinery. Ruby checked her phone. No service yet. Typical. She'd have to wait until the lobby to text her roommate about grabbing takeout. The man went back to his phone. She studied the mirrored wall, trying not to notice how well his suit fit, or the way his jaw was exactly the kind of sharp that usually only existed in photographs with professional lighting. 25th floor, 24th, 23rd, normal elevator ride. 2 professionals going home after work. Nothing remarkable about it. 10th floor. The doors opened. Wait, that was her floor, but she'd already pressed ground floor. Why were they stopping? A woman got on. Gray hair, carrying a massive purse and talking loudly into her phone about someone named Patricia who clearly needed to get her act together. The woman pressed ground floor, even though it was already lit up, and continued her conversation about Patricia's terrible life choices. 9th floor, 8th floor. Then, clank. The elevator jerked. Hard. Ruby grabbed the railing instinctively. The man's hand shot out to steady himself against the wall. The woman with the phone stopped mid-sentence. Everything went still. For about 3 seconds, nobody moved. What just happened? Ruby asked. The man pressed the ground floor button. Nothing. He pressed it again. Still nothing. He hit the door open button. The doors didn't budge. I think we're stuck, he said calmly. You're kidding. I wish I was. He pressed the emergency button. A loud buzz echoed somewhere far away, like it was coming from a different dimension entirely. The woman had resumed her phone call. Patricia, I have to call you back. I'm stuck in an elevator. Yes, stuck. I don't know. Hold on. She looked at the man like he was personally responsible. How long is this going to take? I don't know, ma'am. I'm stuck here with you. The intercom crackled to life. Security. We're aware of the situation. Maintenance has been notified. Please remain calm. The man pressed the button again. How long until we're moving? Could be 30 minutes to an hour, sir. Sit tight. 30 minutes to an hour. Ruby looked at the mirrored ceiling, then at the woman still muttering about Patricia, then at the impossibly attractive man who looked far too composed for someone trapped in a small metal box. This is new, she thought. 3 years in this building. 3 years of taking this elevator twice a day. Never happened before. Naturally. Well, she said out loud, at least it's not Monday morning. The man almost smiled, just barely. Small blessings. The woman with the phone had squeezed herself into the corner and resumed her conversation about Patricia, apparently deciding that being stuck in an elevator was no reason to stop gossiping. Ruby looked at the man. He looked back. "I'm Luca," he said. "Ruby." They shook hands. His grip was firm, warm, professional. The handshake lasted exactly the appropriate amount of time and yet somehow felt significant anyway. "So, Ruby," Luca said, "what do you do when you're not trapped in elevators?" "Event planner, 10th floor. I organize corporate galas, product launches, charity events. That kind of thing." She gestured vaguely upward. "You?" "I run a private jet charter company. We provide luxury travel for executives, celebrities, people who need discretion and reliability. Fancy. That explains the suit. The excessive formality?" He smiled slightly, adjusting his tie. "Client meetings require a certain image." "I get it. I spent all day in heels pretending my feet don't hurt." The woman in the corner was now explaining to Patricia why someone named Margaret was making terrible financial decisions. Luca glanced at her, then back at Ruby, raised an eyebrow slightly. Ruby bit back a smile. "So this happens often?" Ruby asked, keeping her voice low. "Getting stuck in elevators? First time, actually. You? Also first. And hopefully last. At least you're stuck with people who know how to stay calm." He glanced at the woman, who was now laughing loudly at something Patricia said. Relatively calm. The elevator was getting warmer. Not unbearable, but noticeable. The air conditioning was probably tied to the elevator's movement, which meant they were going to get progressively more uncomfortable as time went on. Luca shrugged out of his suit jacket and draped it over the railing. Loosened his tie. Unbuttoned the top button of his shirt. Ruby tried very hard not to notice, and failed completely. "Getting warm in here," he said unnecessarily. "The AC must be tied to movement," Ruby agreed, also unnecessarily, because they both knew exactly what was happening and why. "Probably." He slid down the wall to sit on the floor, legs stretched out in front of him, looked up at her. "Might as well get comfortable. Could be here a while." Ruby looked at her heels, then at the floor, then at Luca sitting there like he had all the time in the world and no concerns about wrinkling his expensive pants. "Go ahead," he said, reading her hesitation. "I won't judge." She kicked off her heels with perhaps more enthusiasm than was dignified. "Oh, thank God." Sat down next to him, maintaining a reasonable professional distance. The floor was surprisingly clean for an elevator floor. Small blessings. "Long day?" he asked. "Very. Client changed the event theme for the 3rd time this week. I've had to redesign everything from the lighting to the catering layout. You?" "Meetings, conference calls, trying to coordinate schedules across 3 time zones." He rolled his shoulders. "The usual chaos. What made you get into the charter jet business?" "Family background in aviation. My grandfather was a pilot. My father expanded into commercial operations. I took it luxury." He paused. "I like giving people freedom. The ability to go anywhere without the hassles of commercial travel. There's something satisfying about that." "That actually sounds amazing. I'm always dealing with venues and vendors who can't accommodate client schedules. Having that kind of flexibility must be incredible." "It is, though the logistics can be nightmarish. Permits, international regulations, maintenance schedules. It's not as glamorous as it sounds. Nothing ever is. Event planning looks like parties and champagne from the outside. Reality is spreadsheets and contract negotiations and wondering if the ice sculptures will melt before the gala starts. He laughed. Actually laughed. Ice sculptures? Don't ask. It was a winter wonderland theme. In July. The client was very specific. They talked for a while about work, about New York, about how they both ended up in this city doing jobs that sounded more exciting than they actually were most days. The conversation flowed easily, naturally, like they'd known each other longer than 20 minutes in a stuck elevator. The woman in the corner had finally ended her phone call and was now playing some kind of game on her phone with the sound on. Loud digital bells kept dinging. Luca caught Ruby's eye, made the smallest gesture toward the woman. Ruby pressed her lips together to keep from laughing. "So where are you from originally?" he asked, voice still low. "You don't sound New York." "Boston. Moved here 5 years ago for work. You?" "Brooklyn. Born and raised. Italian family. Very traditional." "Let me guess. Big Sunday dinners? Grandmother who cooked enough to feed an army?" "Nonna passed away 3 years ago, but yes, exactly that. My mother carries on the tradition now. Every Sunday. No exceptions. No excuses." "That sounds wonderful, actually. My family's not like that. We're close, but in a more distant way. Holiday dinners are nice, but we're not in each other's business constantly." "It's a blessing and a curse," Luca said. "You're never alone, but you're also never alone." Ruby laughed. "I can imagine." They'd been stuck for about 25 minutes. Ruby was surprised to find she didn't actually mind that much. The initial panic had faded. The warmth was manageable. And the company was significantly better than she'd expected when she walked into this elevator. Luca was easy to talk to. Funny in a dry, understated way. Smart, without being condescending. And if she was being honest with herself, which she tried not to be because it seemed inappropriate, extremely attractive. She was just thinking that maybe being stuck in an elevator wasn't the worst thing that could happen on a Monday when the lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then went out completely. Total darkness. Ruby's hand shot out automatically, found Luca's arm, gripped hard. "Oh, it's okay." His voice came from right next to her, steady and calm. "Emergency lights will kick in. Just takes a second." 5 seconds of absolute blackness. She could hear the woman in the corner make a small sound of distress. Could hear Luca breathing, steady and even. Could feel solid muscle under her hand where she was holding his forearm. Then the emergency lights flickered on. Dim, yellowish, but enough to see by. Ruby realized she was clutching Luca's arm like it was the only solid thing in the universe. Let go quickly. "Sorry. Don't be." That was unsettling. But his voice was warm, not mocking, understanding. They were closer now than they had been before the lights went out. Maybe 2 feet apart instead of 3. Close enough that she could see the exact shade of his eyes in the dim emergency lighting. Dark brown, almost black, with small flecks of gold near the iris. Close enough to smell his cologne. Something expensive and subtle that she couldn't identify, but would probably remember forever. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "Yeah, just unexpected." "The lights will stay on now. Emergency power." "You seem very sure about that." "I've learned to stay calm in unexpected situations." Something flickered across his face. "Comes with the territory." "What territory?" He looked at her, considering something. "That's a longer conversation. We have time." "Beat." He smiled slightly. "Maybe, when we get out of here, over a drink, if you're interested." Her heart did something complicated in her chest. "I might be. Depends on the conversation." "Fair enough." The tension between them had shifted. Not uncomfortable, just different. Aware. The woman's phone rang again. She answered with a loud, "Patricia, yes, still stuck, I know. Can you believe this?" Luca and Ruby looked at each other. She bit her lip to keep from laughing. He shook his head slightly, smiling. "How much longer do you think?" Ruby asked. "Maintenance said 30 minutes to an hour. We've been here about 30 minutes. Could be soon. Could be another 30. Very precise estimate. I'm excellent at stating the obvious." She did laugh then, quietly, but genuinely. They sat in companionable silence for a few minutes. The woman continued her conversation. The emergency lights hummed slightly. The air was warm, but not unbearable. "Can I tell you something?" Luca asked suddenly. "And you promise not to panic?" Ruby turned to look at him. That's not a reassuring way to start a sentence. "I know, but I feel like I should be honest with you, since we're stuck here, since I'm going to ask you to dinner when we get out of this elevator. Okay?" She was wary now. "What is it?" "The jet charter company is real, legitimate, profitable. I'm proud of it." He paused, choosing words carefully. "But it's not my only business. My family has other interests, older interests, traditional Italian business structures that go back 3 generations. Ruby waited. There was clearly more. "You're telling me you're Mafia," she said quietly. "I'm telling you I'm the head of the Marino family organization. The jets are what I'm passionate about, what I want to build my reputation on. But the organization is my responsibility, my legacy. I inherited it when my father died." The elevator suddenly felt much smaller. "Why are you telling me this?" Ruby asked. "We just met 40 minutes ago in a stuck elevator. Because I want to see you again, have dinner, get to know you properly. And I don't want to start something based on lies or omissions. You deserve to know who I am before you decide if you want to spend time with me." She studied him. He looked back, steady, not defensive or aggressive, just honest. "Are you dangerous?" she asked. "To you? Never. To people who threaten what's mine? Yes." Very honest answer. "You asked." Silence. The woman in the corner was laughing at something Patricia said, completely oblivious to the conversation happening 6 feet away. Ruby processed. Mafia. He'd just told her he was Mafia. She should be scared. Should make an excuse when they got out of here and never see him again. Should definitely not agree to dinner with a literal crime boss. But "I should probably run away when these doors open," she said slowly. "Make an excuse. Block your number if you ask for it. Never think about you again." "Probably," he agreed. "But I'm not going to do that." He looked surprised. "No?" "No, because you've been honest and kind. And in 40 minutes you haven't made me regret being stuck here." She paused. "Just promise me something. Anything. Be careful. Whatever you do, however you do it, be careful. Because I don't know you well enough yet to be scared of what you might do. But I already know you well enough to be worried about what might happen to you." Something in his expression shifted, softened. Most people either run or they romanticize it. "You're worried about me?" "You seem like a good person who inherited something complicated. That's not fair. And yes, I'm worried. So if we're going to have dinner, you have to promise me you're careful." "I promise," he said quietly. "Deal." "Good. Then yes, I'll have dinner with you." The intercom crackled. "Mr. Marino, Miss Carter, we have you now. Bringing the elevator down. 2 minutes." The elevator hummed to life. Started descending slowly, carefully. They stood up. Ruby slipped her heels back on, wincing slightly. Luca shrugged into his suit jacket, suddenly looking professional and put together again instead of relaxed and rumpled. The doors opened to the ground floor. Building manager, maintenance crew, security all waiting, apologizing profusely. The woman with the phone pushed past everyone, still talking to Patricia, barely acknowledging the staff. "We're fine," Luca said smoothly. These things happen. Ruby grabbed her bag. Luca touched her elbow gently. Give me your number. I'll call you tomorrow about dinner. She did. He programmed it into his phone immediately, efficiently. Tomorrow? She confirmed. Tomorrow, 7, I'll pick you up. You don't know where I live. You'll text me. Small smile. I have your number now. Confident. I know what I want. They walked out of the building together. His car was waiting at the curb. Town car, professional driver who didn't ask questions. He offered her a ride. She declined. I'm only 6 blocks. I'll walk. Then I'll watch until you turn the corner. That's very old-fashioned. I'm a traditional guy. She walked away, very aware of his eyes on her. When she reached the corner, she looked back. He was still standing there, hands in his pockets, watching. She raised her hand. He raised his back. Then she turned the corner and allowed herself to smile. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. Unknown number. Made it home yet? She texted back. Still walking. 3 blocks to go. Stalker. His response came quickly. Just making sure you're safe. Text me when you're inside. She did. 10 minutes later, standing in her apartment with her shoes finally off and her work bag dropped by the door. Home. Safe. His reply. Good. Sleep well, Ruby. She fell asleep thinking about dark eyes and honest confessions and the strange luck of getting stuck in an elevator with exactly the right person at exactly the right time. The next evening, Luca picked her up at 7 sharp. The town car pulled up in front of her building, and he got out to open her door himself, which her roommate was absolutely going to interrogate her about later, based on the way she was watching from the window. You look beautiful, he said. You look like you're planning something. Just dinner, I promise. The restaurant was Italian, intimate, expensive in the way that meant no prices on the menu. They got a corner table with a view of the city lights. Do you always go this big on first dates? Ruby asked, looking around at the white tablecloths and crystal glasses. I don't actually date much. Work doesn't leave a lot of time for it. But when I do something, I do it properly. Italian and traditional. I'm sensing a theme. Guilty. They ordered wine. Started with antipasti. Talked easily, picking up where they'd left off in the elevator like no time had passed at all. Ruby told him about growing up in Boston, about her parents who were both teachers, about moving to New York with nothing but ambition and student loans, and a desperate hope that she'd make it work. My parents were supportive but worried. Teachers don't make much. They couldn't help financially, and event planning isn't exactly a stable career path. But I couldn't imagine doing anything else. They must be proud now. They are, though my mother still sends care packages like I'm in college and can't feed myself. Last month she mailed deep dish pizza. Frozen. It arrived mostly thawed and completely inedible. He laughed. My mother does the same. Shows up at my apartment with containers of food like I haven't eaten in weeks. Italian mothers and Midwestern mothers, same energy. Exactly. Luca told her about Brooklyn, about his father's expectations, about learning 2 different businesses simultaneously. The legitimate jets and the less legitimate family operations. My father died 3 years ago. Heart attack at his desk. 1 minute he was reviewing contracts, the next he was gone. He stared at his wine. I wasn't ready to take over. You're never ready for that kind of responsibility. But you do it anyway because people are counting on you. That must have been impossibly hard. It was, is. Some days I'm not sure I'm doing either business justice, the jets, or the organization. I'm trying to honor his legacy while also building my own thing. It's complicated. From what you've told me, you're doing both. The jets are growing. The organization is stable. That's not failure. That's managing 2 full-time careers most people couldn't handle one of. He looked at her, something grateful in his eyes. Thank you for saying that. I mean it. You're impressively accomplished for someone who claims to not have time for dating. I make time for things that matter. The implication hung between them, that she mattered, that this mattered. The food came. Pasta for her, osso buco for him, both incredible. They ate and talked about lighter things. Favorite movies, worst vacations, the restaurants in New York they wanted to try but never had time for. Have you been in serious relationships before? Ruby asked, then immediately regretted it. Sorry, that's too personal for a first date. No, it's fine. Fair question. He set down his fork. One serious relationship. 5 years ago. We dated for 2 years. She wanted me to leave the family business. Said she couldn't be with someone involved in that world. I couldn't leave. So it ended. I'm sorry. Don't be. She was right to leave. She wanted a different life. I couldn't give it to her. We wanted different things. And since then, casual dates, nothing serious. Work kept me busy enough that I didn't mind being alone. He paused, until 40 minutes in an elevator made me realize maybe I'd been alone long enough. Ruby's heart did something complicated. I was engaged once, 5 years ago. College boyfriend. We'd been together since sophomore year. He proposed right after graduation. What happened? He wanted me smaller, quieter, less ambitious. Said my career goals were too much. That I should focus on being a good wife instead of chasing some fantasy job in New York. She smiled without humor. I gave him back the ring and moved to Manhattan 3 weeks later. Good, Luca said fiercely. Anyone who wants you smaller doesn't deserve you at all. That's what my roommate said. Helped me pack. Drove with me to New York. Stayed the first week until I found my feet. Sounds like a good friend. The best. She's still here, actually. We still live together. Share an apartment in Chelsea. She teaches middle school English. Very different world from mine, but we make it work. They talked until the restaurant started giving them looks. Until they were the last table occupied. Until Luca finally paid the check and they walked out into the cool New York night. It's complicated, he admitted. Trying to honor my father's legacy while also creating my own path. Some days, I'm not sure I'm doing either one well. From what you've told me, you're doing both. The Jets are growing, and you're running the family organization. That's not failure. That's managing 2 full-time careers. Maybe. It doesn't always feel that way. The food came. Pasta for her, osso buco for him, both incredible. Tell me about the organization, Ruby said after a while. The part you didn't explain in the elevator. He set down his fork. Are you sure you want to know? I'm here, aren't I? So he told her. About territory in Lower Manhattan. About protection for local businesses who paid for security and got actual security, not extortion. About financial operations that existed in gray areas of the law. About import and export that sometimes bent regulations. I'm not proud of all of it, he said. But I follow rules. No drugs, no civilian casualties, no unnecessary violence. I protect people in my territory. It's old world honor. My grandfather's code. I might be a criminal by law, but I'm not a monster. I believe you. Just like that? You've been honest from the start. You could have lied, could have kept it hidden. But you told me the truth in a stuck elevator when you had no reason to. She took a sip of wine. That says something. Ruby, I'm not saying I'm comfortable with all of it. I'm not saying I don't have questions. But I'm saying I want to keep getting to know you. See where this goes. If you're willing to be patient while I figure out how I feel about dating someone who's technically a criminal. He smiled. Actually smiled. Warm and real. I can be very patient. At her door later that night, he didn't ask permission. just stepped close, one hand cupping her face, the other finding her waist, and kissed her. Not tentative, not testing, claiming. She melted into it, hands fisting in his shirt, kissing him back with equal intensity. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, he said, "I'll call you tomorrow." "You better." One more kiss, quick but possessive, and then he forced himself to step back and walk away. Ruby went inside, leaned against the door, heart racing. Her roommate appeared immediately. "Oh my God. Who was that, and why did he kiss you like that?" "That," Ruby said, "is a very long story." Over the next few weeks, they fell into a pattern: dinner twice a week, coffee on Sunday mornings, long phone conversations late at night when he was traveling for the jet business. She met some of his world. Not the organization, not yet, but the legitimate side. Saw the hangar where his jets were maintained, met his operations manager, understood the scope of what he'd built. He came to one of her events, a corporate gala for 300 people. Watched her work, directing staff, solving problems, making everything look effortless when she knew it was actually controlled chaos. Afterward, he said, "You're incredible at this. The way you handle everything. It's impressive." It's just logistics. It's leadership. There's a difference. Week 5, they were having dinner at his apartment when he said, casually, "Have you ever been to Italy?" "Never. Always wanted to go." "I'm flying to the Amalfi Coast next weekend. Mix of business and personal. Come with me." Ruby set down her wine glass. "Luca, I can't just..." "One of the perks of owning jets. I decide the schedule, and I want you there. Say yes." She thought about it for exactly 5 seconds. Yes. The flight itself was surreal. Private jet, leather seats, champagne if she wanted it, though she stuck with sparkling water because flying made her nervous even in luxury. They talked the whole way. About Italy, about his family's roots in a village near Naples, about her dream of traveling more, seeing the world beyond conference rooms and event venues. "My grandparents emigrated in the 50s, he said, "but we still have family there. I try to visit once a year, stay connected to where we came from. That must be nice, having that sense of history, belonging." It is, and also a lot of pressure, living up to the legacy, honoring the past while trying to build something for the future. Positano was exactly as beautiful as every photograph she'd ever seen, except more. The hotel was perched on a cliff, every room with an ocean view that made her want to cry. Their first morning, they had breakfast on the terrace. Fresh figs, prosciutto, bread still warm from the oven, espresso so strong it made her entire body wake up at once. "This is obscene," Ruby said, looking at the spread. "How am I supposed to go back to New York bagels after this?" "You're not. That's the plan. Ruin you for normal food forever." Mission accomplished. They spent the day walking. Luca knew Positano like he'd grown up there instead of just visiting. Knew which streets had the best views, which shops were tourist traps, which restaurants served food that actually tasted like someone's grandmother made it. He took her to a tiny ceramics shop where an old man hand-painted plates with lemon designs, spoke to him in rapid Italian, laughing at something the man said, then translated for Ruby. "He says you have good taste because you're with me. I told him you have terrible taste for the same reason." The old man laughed, said something else. Luca's cheeks went slightly pink. "What did he say?" "He said I should marry you before you realize you can do better." Ruby's heart did something complicated. They'd been dating 6 weeks. Marriage was not on the table. But the way Luca looked at her when he translated made her think maybe it wasn't as far off the table as it should be. They bought a plate. Blue and yellow lemons, hand-painted, slightly imperfect. "For your apartment," Luca said. "So you remember this." Day 2, he took her to meet his family's people. Not his immediate family, but the extended network that existed in small Italian villages. People who'd known his grandparents, who remembered the Merinos before they went to America. An old woman named Philomena grabbed Ruby's face between her hands, studied her, then declared something in Italian that made everyone laugh. "What did she say?" Ruby asked. "She said you have kind eyes and good birthing hips. She approves." Oh my God. Welcome to Italian Family Assessment. Very thorough, very personal. They had lunch at Philomena's house. Her daughter cooked. Pasta with clams caught that morning. Fresh tomatoes from the garden. Wine from a cousin's vineyard. Everything tasted like it had been made with love and time, which it had. After lunch, Philomena pulled out photo albums, showed them pictures of Luca's grandfather as a young man before America, before everything changed. "He was handsome like you," she said to Luca in accented English. "Same eyes, same trouble." Luca translated some of the stories, his grandfather's reputation for charm and stubbornness, the girl he'd been in love with before he met Luca's grandmother, the decision to leave Italy, which broke his mother's heart but gave his children opportunities. Ruby watched Luca listen to these stories, seeing pieces of his history she'd never know otherwise, understanding where he came from, why family meant everything, why tradition wasn't just a word, but a responsibility. That night, walking back to the hotel along the cliff path, she said, "Thank you for bringing me here, for showing me this. I wanted you to understand where I come from, what shaped me. It's easier to show you than explain. Your grandfather must have been remarkable. He was complicated, good man, hard man, loved his family fiercely, built something from nothing in America. But he never forgot this place. Came back every year until he couldn't travel anymore. Do you feel connected to it? Italy? Yes and no. I'm American, Brooklyn born. But there's something here that's in my blood. The food, the language, the way people take time for things that matter. I try to carry that with me." Day 3 was the day he took her to Ravello. Higher up in the mountains, cooler, with views that made Positano's look modest. They visited the Villa Ruffalo Gardens. Terraced gardens overlooking the sea, flowers everywhere, classical music playing from speakers hidden in the hedges. "Wagner wrote part of an opera here," Luca said. "Said the garden inspired him. I can see why." They found a quiet spot. Stone bench, flowering vines, view of the coastline stretching forever. Sat in comfortable silence, his arm around her shoulders, her head on his chest. Just breathing, being. "Ruby, I'm in love with you." She sat up, looked at him. His face was serious, open, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. "I know it's fast. 6 weeks. But I knew in that elevator. And every day since has confirmed it. Bringing you here, showing you my world, watching you understand it. I love you. And I want this to be real. Official. I want you to be mine." Her eyes were wet. "Luca, you don't have to say it back, not if you're not ready. But I needed you to know that this isn't casual for me, that I'm all in. I love you too." The words came easily, because they were true. I was afraid to say it first, afraid it was too fast. But yes, I love you. I'm all in too. He kissed her then, soft and deep and full of promise, full of future and possibility and everything neither of them had been sure they'd ever find. They stayed in Ravello until sunset, wrapped around each other, talking about nothing and everything. Made plans. Not concrete ones, but the shape of them. What they wanted, where they saw this going. "I want to introduce you to my mother properly," he said. "My brothers. I want them to know you're not just someone I'm dating. You're the person." "The person?" "The person I'm building toward forever with." She kissed him again. "Then let's do that. Meet your family. Build toward forever. All of it." They flew back to New York different than when they'd left. Not just dating anymore. In love. Committed. Building something real. On the third night, they were on the hotel's rooftop terrace. Just them. A bottle of wine. Lights twinkling along the coastline below. "Ruby." He turned to face her. "I need to tell you something." "Should I be worried?" "I hope not." He took her hand. "I'm in love with you. I know it's fast. 6 weeks. But I knew in that elevator. And every day since has just confirmed it. I love you. And I want this to be official. Real. I want you to be mine." Her breath caught. "Luca, say yes. Be my girlfriend. Let me build something real with you." "Yes." She was smiling, eyes wet. "Yes, I love you too. I was afraid to say it first, but yes, I'm yours." He kissed her. Slow, deep, full of promise and future, and everything neither of them had been sure they'd ever find. "Ti amo, Ruby Carter. I love you too." They stayed on that terrace until dawn, wrapped around each other, talking about everything and nothing, watching the sun rise over the Amalfi Coast. Back in New York, life continued but different now. Better. They were official. A couple. She met more of his world, both the legitimate jets and, carefully, some of the organization. He came to more of her events, supporting her work, proud of what she'd built. Months 3 and 4 were easy, comfortable. They found their rhythm. Friday nights at his place. Sunday mornings at hers. Weekday dinners when schedules allowed. He sent her flowers at work. She left extra clothes at his apartment. They talked about the future in careful, hopeful terms. Month 4, he came home late. She was already at his apartment, reading contracts for an upcoming gala, when she heard the door, looked up, saw him, saw the blood on his shirt cuff. "What happened?" She was on her feet immediately. "It's handled. I'm fine." "That's blood, Luca." He looked down at his sleeve like he'd forgotten it was there. "Territorial dispute. Another family thought they could push into our area. They were wrong. It got physical. But everyone's fine now. You could have been hurt. But I wasn't. This time." She was scared now. Really scared. All the abstract understanding of what he did becoming concrete in the form of blood on expensive fabric. "This is what I was worried about. That something would happen to you." He pulled her close. "Ruby, listen to me. I'm careful. I have security, Paolo and others. I don't take unnecessary risks. But yes, sometimes the work is dangerous. I won't lie to you about that. I need you to promise me something. Anything. That you'll come home, that you'll be careful, that you won't take stupid risks, that I won't have to wonder every time you're late if something happened." "I promise." He held her tight. "You're my priority now, always. I have too much to lose. I'll be careful. I swear it." She held him back, both of them understanding that this life had real risks, but choosing it anyway, together. Months 5 and 6 were a revelation. They traveled more. Paris for a long weekend. Barcelona for 5 days. Quick trip to Tulum because Ruby had never seen the Caribbean, and Luca wanted to show her turquoise water and Mayan ruins. Having access to private jets meant spontaneity she'd never experienced. Friday afternoon deciding to fly somewhere. Landing Sunday night refreshed instead of exhausted from commercial travel. Her work flourished too, the happiness in her personal life translating to confidence and creativity professionally. She closed bigger deals, planned more ambitious events. Her reputation grew. Month 6, her boss called her into his office. "Ruby, you've been with us 5 years. Your work has always been excellent, but the last 6 months have been extraordinary. We want to make you partner. Equity in the firm, her name on the letterhead, everything she'd worked for." She called Luca immediately. I got it. They made me partner. I knew you would. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you. You did this yourself, Ruby. Your talent. Your work. I just got to watch you shine. That night they celebrated. Dinner at their favorite Italian place. The one where they'd had their first date. Champagne. Laughter. Plans for the future. 2 weeks later, on a Friday evening, Luca texted her. I'll pick you up at your office. 7. Wear something nice. She texted back, why? Where are we going? Surprise. Trust me. She changed at work. Nice dress, heels, fresh makeup. Colleagues noticed, asked questions. She deflected with smiles. At 7 sharp, Luca appeared at her office reception. Different suit. Special. She could tell. You look beautiful. You look suspicious. What are you planning? Nothing. Just dinner. Too innocent. Luca Marino, you're a terrible liar. Good thing I don't lie to you then. They walked to the elevators. She pressed the call button. The doors opened. Empty elevator. They stepped inside. She pressed lobby. He didn't press anything. Just stood there with a slight smile. What? Nothing. The elevator descended. 25th floor, 24th, 23rd. Then at the 8th floor, clank. The elevator stopped. Ruby's eyes went wide. No. Yes. Luca, did you... I may have made arrangements with building management. You planned this? She was laughing. You're insane. Probably. He was grinning. But I wanted it to be here, where it started. We got stuck between 8 and 9 last time. Close enough. Same elevator, same building, full circle. She shook her head, laughing. You actually arranged to stop the elevator. I made a generous donation to the building's maintenance fund. That's literally a bribe. Semantics. He turned serious, the playfulness fading into something tender, intense. 7.5 months ago, we got stuck in this elevator for 40 minutes. I thought it was bad luck. Worse timing. Inconvenient. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box. Turns out it was the best 40 minutes of my life. He got down on one knee. Right there. Same elevator. Different floor. Same magic. Opened the box. Diamond ring. Elegant. Perfect. Her. Oh my God, Ruby whispered. Ruby Carter. You didn't run when I told you the truth. You've seen my world and stayed. You've made me happier than I thought possible. You've built this incredible career, and somehow found room in it for me and all my complications. He smiled. I love you. I want to spend the rest of my life making you laugh, supporting your dreams, probably getting stuck in elevators with you. Marry me. Please. She was crying, laughing. You stopped an elevator to propose. I'm Italian. We don't do small gestures. You're ridiculous. Is that a yes? Yes, God, yes, of course, yes. He stood, slid the ring onto her finger, pulled her into a kiss that tasted like forever. When they broke apart, she said, Can we get out now? Or are we stuck for real? He pulled out his phone. Texted someone. She said yes. Immediately the elevator hummed to life, continued descending. You had someone waiting? Paolo's in the security office. He helped coordinate. Your security team knows you proposed? They helped plan it. Marco suggested roses in the elevator, but I thought that was overkill. The doors opened. Lobby. Paolo was standing there, trying not to smile. Congratulations, Ms. Carter. You were in on this. Boss's orders, ma'am. Outside the town car. But also his family. Gianna, his brothers, their wives, kids. All waiting on the sidewalk. Luca. They wanted to celebrate. I couldn't say no to my mother. Gianna rushed forward, hugging Ruby, demanding to see the ring. Bellissima. I knew it. I told everyone. Chaos. Italian chaos. The best kind. Luca's arm around Ruby's waist, holding her close. You planned everything, she said. I'm thorough. I'm marrying a man who stops elevators for proposals. You love it. I really do. 1 year later, Ruby and Luca stood in an elevator in their new building. Different from where they met, but still, an elevator. They'd just had dinner downtown. Were heading up to their apartment. The penthouse they'd bought together 6 months after the wedding. The elevator started moving. She looked at him. Don't even think about it. Think about what? Stopping this elevator. Would I do that? Yes. Absolutely. He laughed. Not today, but maybe on our anniversary. Luca Marino, if you stop an elevator on our anniversary, you'll what? I'll probably just kiss you, because apparently I married someone ridiculous and I'm okay with it. More than okay, I hope. Yeah, more than okay. Before the doors opened on their floor, he pulled her close, kissed her soft and sweet. I love you, Mrs. Marino. Love you too, even though you're completely insane. Especially because I'm insane. Especially because of that. They stepped into their home, their life, built from 40 minutes in a stuck elevator and the choice to take a chance on something unexpected. Sometimes the worst timing is actually perfect timing. Sometimes getting stuck is exactly what you need to find what you've been missing. Sometimes the best love stories start between floors with emergency lighting and honest confessions. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, they end with elevator proposals and Italian families, and forever. Subscribe for more Mafia romance. Join our members area for exclusive content.